here. One is remote, and both student board members are present. And we will begin with the Pledge of Allegiance. All right, and we'll start with the commendations for the fall athletics and activities.
Yes, so the board is commending a number of athletes tonight who qualified for state this year. So we will begin with the girls swim team. After an impressive 5th place finish at an extremely tough sectionals, 5 swimmers qualified for the WIAA Division II state swim meet. Bailey Soa qualified for 2 individual events, the 200 individual medley and the 100 backstroke. Lydia Anderson qualified for the 200 freestyle. Lily McKenzie qualified for the 100 butterfly. And the 400 freestyle relay team of Julie Lehman, Lily McKenzie, Bailey Soa, and Lydia Anderson with Jamie Zagola as the alternate qualified as well. At the state meet, each swimmer dropped time, and the relay placed 10th place and dropped 6 seconds after being seeded 14th. All of the girls worked extremely hard this season to qualify and performed well at their final meet of the season. So congratulations to these 5 swimmers on their accomplishments. And we have certificates of commendation. The coach is here tonight if you want to say anything. Would you like? Grace, would you like to say anything about your team?
All of these girls worked super hard this season. It was a really tough sectional, but they all reached their goal of making it to state, and it was a great season.
All right, awesome. All right, next we will take a look at girls tennis. Sophomore Angela Bogojevic proved once again this year that she is one of the best girls tennis players in the state by taking 7th place at the WIAA state tournament. As the 8th seed, she outclassed her first 2 opponents at state, highlighted by dominating the 9th seed from Lake Geneva Badger 6-1, 6-1 in the round of 16. She lost in the quarterfinals to the 1 seed and the 2025 state champion. Hold on, there we go. And the 2025 state champion from Brookfield East in a very competitive match. And Angela finished the season with a 22-3 record. Her losses were to the state champion twice, once during the regular season and once at state, and to a player from Arrowhead who took 6th place. Included in her 22 wins were 11 over-state qualifiers. Other accolades include being the Woodland Conference #1 singles champion and the sectional #1 singles champ. Congratulations to Angela on a fantastic season. And is she? I don't see her. All right, she's not here tonight, but congratulations to Angela. We'll make sure we get that to her. And our final commendation for the evening from the board is for cross country. Freshman athletes are wild cards. It's typically 50-50 if they will rise to the occasion or get the job. Oh, sorry. This is from the coach, so let me get this straight. All right. If they will rise to the occasion and get the job done when the stakes are truly high, chalk it up to inexperience and nerves. At the sectional 9 meet, Evie not only rose to the occasion, she exceeded expectations. Instead of being content with a great performance at the conference meet, where she earned second team all-conference honors, she took it a step further at sectionals and pushed her limits. Evie was seated 13th going into the sectional meet, but once the gun went off, she got out fast and latched on to the lead pack. Over the next 3 miles, she slowly picked the group apart one by one. By the time she crossed the finish line, she took 6th overall, broke her previous personal record by 18 seconds, which is a lot, and qualified for the state meet. Evie's performance is so strong it puts her within striking distance to become the second fastest runner in Greendale girls cross-country history as a freshman. So congratulations to Evie on a great season. Noah, would you like to present the award?
Yeah, Brian, get up there. I told you you should.
Does that mean I'm in the picture?
That means you get to be in the picture too, yes. That is all of the commendations we have for the evening.
All right, thank you, and congrats to everyone. Next up, we have communications.
There's only one piece of communication this evening. As posted in Type A notice on November 19th, an election is to be held in the Greendale School District on Tuesday, April 7th, 2026, for the seat of school board member. Kathleen Weed Vincent is the incumbent. The term of office for the elected school board member is 3 years, beginning on Monday, April 27th, and expiring on Monday, April 27th, 2026, and expiring on Sunday, April 22nd, 2029. For candidates, a campaign registration statement and a declaration of candidacy must be filed no later than 5 p.m. on Tuesday, January 6th in the district office. In advance of the election, there is a school board academy on December 11th in the evening at, what time do we have? 6:30 p.m. And that concludes my communications.
All right, thank you. We'll move on to the student updates.
This week, DECA is preparing for their district event on December 13th with a series of practice tests and sessions. Their official test day is during school next week between Flex and 4th Hour. The Panthers Den is submitting a recertification document through DECA to meet the gold standard on the international level, getting the student-based enterprise recognition within the organization for its achievements. Sources of Strength continued their week-to-week Sources Wheel ACP period focus with an emphasis on family support this week. Robotics continues to contact sponsors so that they can raise their budget through the Class Community website, and they are meeting with a local sponsor, Exact Automation, this Thursday. Winter sports such as basketball are underway as their seasons progress. The Debate Club is preparing to have after-school meetings with Ms. Schwain after school. After a successful first meeting, the Bible Study Club will meet again this Thursday after school in Mr. Shetsky's room.
November 22nd, band students marched in the Chicago Magnificent Mile Parade, playing the music they will also be playing in the Tournament Roses Parade. The band still has a few after-school practices before their community send-off for the Roses Parade on Saturday, December 13th at noon. The high school performed their March of Champions to honor students in clubs and athletics who made it to state and/or nationals. High schoolers interested in the GTV program, creating video announcements, have had multiple meetings to plan upcoming announcements, and Educators Rising had a meeting on November 19th where they invited a high school student teacher to share her experiences, discussed the state competitions and past projects, and made cards for teachers, and also started a fundraiser.
All right, thank you. We can skip comments from visitors, and we will move on to approving the meeting minutes from November 17th.
I'll move approval of the meeting minutes from November 17th as outlined in agenda item 1.1.
A second.
All right, are there any questions or comments? All right, we'll do a roll call.
Yes.
Yes?
Yes.
Nem, yes?
Yes.
All right, motion passes. Moving on to approving the safety plan.
At the last board meeting, you heard a report from Mr. Steve Lotus regarding the safety plan. This is part of an overall comprehensive plan to maintain safety for our students, and the plan must be submitted to the Department of Justice. So the board is asked to take action to approve the safety plan, and administration recommends approval.
All right, looking for a motion to approve the safety plan.
I move approval of the safety plan as presented in agenda item 3.1.
I'll second.
All right, if there's no questions or comments, we'll do a roll call.
Yes.
Yes?
Yes.
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 All right, motion passes. Approving the budget amendments.
As was recommended in the audit a couple of years ago, we make amendments to the budget periodically throughout the year as things change, and Mr. Mitchell will share with you some highlights for approval.
Yep, so included in the budget amendments that are shown here, it includes the award that we received for Act 20 reading reimbursement. So this is something that we talked about previously because there was uncertainty that we had not built into the 25-26 budget. We've now since been allocated and have already received $130,679, which was the full 50% reimbursement of the portion of those CKLA costs that were reimbursable under the DPI grant. So there's a revenue that's booked in the budget now, and we've set aside those funds within the curriculum budget. And we can have further conversation with the board as we get through the rest of the year about what would be the best usage of those dollars, either towards additional curriculum purchases or paying down part of the loan that we took out for that CKLA curriculum early. So we'll have more information in spring and then can advise the board like what those options look like and what we feel would be best. We've adjusted the budget for final open enrollment seats for students coming into the district. For grant budgets that have been approved by DPI. As we start the year, it's typical that there's some modifications that happen versus what we originally projected in May of what we would do in terms of programming. So we've made those changes. We've adjusted staffing costs and also accounted for insurance deductibles. So the original surplus within the operational budget was around $492,000. So that's come down about $10,000. You see here it's shown as $482,681. So still well above the board's target for this year of $400,000 to add 1% to fund balance. Within the special education fund, we've made adjustments for federal grant awards, and then within the non-referendum debt service fund accounted for the first payment for a loan on the district athletic van. So with that, I'd be happy to take any questions that the board has about the budget amendments shown.
Any questions for Jonathan? No. All right. Thanks, Jonathan.
Thanks.
Appreciate it. All right, so we need to approve the budget amendments. So I'm looking for a motion.
I will move approval of the budget amendments as outlined in agenda item 3.2.
I second.
All right. Start a roll call.
Yes.
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 All right, motion passes. Moving on to approving personnel.
There is a teacher appointment for second semester and recommending approval by the board.
Looking for a motion to approve the personnel.
I move the approval of the personnel teacher appointment presented agenda item 3.3.
I second.
Looking for a roll call.
Yes.
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 Motion passes. And finally, we need to approve the 2026-27 calendar.
On November 10th, administration presented a calendar for review and consideration. And after opening it for staff and parent feedback, there is additional input and 2 options that meet the requirements of the Department of Public Instruction for minutes of instruction and the instructional needs of the district. So administration recommends that the board have a conversation about the survey feedback and either select option A, which is a 1.5 week winter break, or option B, which is a 2-week winter break, resulting in 2 additional days, 1 additional day in March and 1 additional day in June.
So I can comment. I was at the parent-teacher advisory meeting at the high school a few weeks ago, and Steve Lotus brought this up, and there was a discussion. And I think from the perspective of the high school parents, they preferred a shorter break, just for the fact that the comment that was brought up a few times was that they felt it would be easier for kids to get back into the swing of things for final exams versus like the longer break. So it would be 4 days shorter, and it's less time being out of a routine. So I guess the kids that maybe struggle with getting back into the swing of things, they thought it would be helpful. I don't know what our students think.
I don't really have an opinion. Whatever like the parents think, because it most affects them for rides and yeah.
Ditto. All right. So Kathy?
Oh, do you want to go?
No.
Okay.
You can go.
I just want to thank Dr. Midzik and then whoever was responsible for sending the survey out to the parents. We did ask for that the last meeting. As Maddie nicely just said, I do think we need to be cognizant of what the needs of the parents are. I have talked to several families that have children in the schools, and for the same reasons that Tasha just mentioned, they felt that longer time period out would get them out of the routine, but also I was hearing just that daycare arrangements would be more difficult if it was a longer period of time. So I appreciate both the staff and the parents giving input. My personal opinion at this point would be to err on the side of the families, the parents, who know best what is going to do best for their kids and for their schedules. So that's just my thoughts on it.
I would be in favor of option A for everything that was stated. Brian?
I agree with the option A. I do have, I asked Dr. Midzik a little bit about kind of timing, even with graduation, pushing off another day. And she just kind of referenced that having the extra day is a little bit more helpful. Just allowing the seniors to kind of have their time and their work, right, kind of celebrating their graduation. But also I did hear from parents that they like that Monday after Easter. The common theme I heard was it's a little bit cheaper to travel back on that day than Sunday and a little less chaotic. So that was a preference. While they did like the 2 weeks, I think that Monday after Easter kind of became the big caveat that they wouldn't trade that longer time for that extra day. So I think option A would probably be our best bet.
All right, thank you. Christy, I know you're remote. I don't want to leave you out. If you have anything to add.
Yeah, I appreciate that we were able to do the survey and have that feedback. I can understand the parents' point of view. I'm a person who has 2 full weeks off at Christmas, and I appreciate the extra time to be with my family and to have some time to decompress. So I think that I don't want to discount what the teachers have said about wanting the 2 full weeks because they are the ones who are on the front lines with the kids every day. And so I just want to make sure that we're keeping them in mind as well as we're looking at the outcomes for this. So I guess my preference would be B, just based on my own personal experience and what I've seen from past 2-week breaks that we've had here in Greendale. So those are my thoughts.
All right, thank you. All right, so we need to approve option A then, since there's 4 of us that want option A.
I would move the approval of option A for the 26-27 school year calendar.
I second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. If there's nothing else to add, we'll do a roll
Yes.
Yes?
Yes.
Yes?
And I'm a no.
Motion still carries.
Okay. Yep. We're good. Motion carries. Moving on to the academic benchmarking report.
So this is an annual report in which our academic performance is compared to other districts, and I turn it over to Maggie and Tracy to present our results.
Hi, we're very excited to share with you the academic success of our students. One of my favorite parts of my job is when the report card comes out. The night before it becomes public, I make a video for each school and one for the district, and I get to go through each of the schools' report cards about all the celebrations, and I have pom-poms, and I have bells, and we celebrate in a video. I'm not going to bring bells or pom-poms today, but the work that our students have done is pretty incredible, and that is because of the hard work of our teachers. So we're going to start with grounding ourselves that students are our data. Can you go to the next slide? Next, Jonathan. We're going to be looking at a lot of different data points. I just think it's really important that we look at these faces, because when we look at our students, we want to make sure that if we're like, well, 60 is good enough, like that's higher than the state, we want to remember that that's 40% of the kids on this slide not getting not being at grade level. So we just want to continue to focus that these numbers do represent kids that are in our classroom, represent kids that are at home right now and sleeping and doing homework so they can come back to school tomorrow. So just a reminder, I think it's really important to ground ourselves in that students are our data. A reminder around what we're held accountable by DPI. We look at attendance, the forward exam, the ACT and the pre-ACT secure, the dynamic learning maps, which is a test for students on the alternative essential standards. We're also held accountable for graduation rates. We also look at disproportionality to make sure that all of our kids are performing, not just certain groups of students. And then we also, with Act 20, are accountable for reading readiness. So we really look at those third grade reading scores. And then also for discipline. So what we always say with our teachers when we go over data is that once we know better, we can do better, and we're going to work together. So there are a lot of things to celebrate with our data, and there are some points of places to grow, and we'll shine a light on all of that in this presentation today. So our report card overall has gone up 4.3 points from last year. That would be me with pom-poms. That isn't easy to do, is to keep moving your district, and we have been on a trajectory up every year since the pandemic, which is awesome. Also, just to note, there was a change in the report card score range. So it is now more difficult to receive a 5-star. It used to be 82 was a 5-star. And then it was 83, and then it was 82, and then now it's 84. So we are 3.7 away from being a 5-star district. And if we continue to do the work we're doing, I'm hopeful that next year when I'm presenting this, we will be a 5-star district. So each school, the way it works is each school has their own report card separately, and then we also have a district report card. I'm not going to be going into the details of each individual school, although each school does have a report card. Those are available on our website. And I'm just going to quickly highlight how every school did. Canterbury went up 4.1 points, and they continue to be a 5-star school. Highland View went up 6.7 points and continues to be a 5-star school. College Park went down 3.1 and fell from 5 to 4, although they're in the top 5% of achieving schools in the state for achievement. So that's something that we definitely want to celebrate for College Park. Greendale Middle School went up 4.5 points, and Greendale High School went up 4.2 points. So this overall was an amazing year for our schools and the academic success that they are working on with their students through their SAIL work and all of their short cycle goals. So I'm going to now go through the report card for the district. So this is the achievement area. The achievement area, we went up from last year. We went up 7.1 points from last year. So this is a huge improvement. And what we look at for this is we're looking at how many kids score advanced and proficient and developing and approaching. So developing gets 0 points, approaching gets 0.5 points, mastering gets 1 point, and then advanced gets 1.5 points. So that's how they figure out the points for that. In each, and they only are looking at English, language arts, and math. Both of those are, we went up in both of those. We went up 3.6 for our achievement in ELA, and we went up 10.5 in math, which is incredible. Yes, we can. I mean, I'm fine. We can cheer all we want. That is amazing. So if we go to the next slide, you'll see what this looks like. So on this slide, you can see that there is, we are increasing the amount of students. So that blue bar is our advanced. We're growing both in English language arts and math in our advanced numbers. We're also growing in our meeting. And our goal is to make that developing number, which is the lowest proficiency level, shrink and keep growing our advanced. Typically, when we're looking at achievement, we are looking at 3 years of data. They did change the cut scores. So there's only 2 years of data with the new cut scores. So next year, it'll have all 3. And that's how they figure out the achievement. Next slide, we have growth. So for growth, we are flat in growth this year. So one of the things is that we did go up in math by 1.9, and we went down in ELA by 1.9. What you'll notice when we get into the nitty-gritty of the data, and you can see per grade level, we are having a little bit of a dip of proficiency from 4th to 5th grade, and then another dip of proficiency from 5th to 6th grade. So this has been a huge focus for us this year. And at our data digs in the summer, we dug into that, and there's a lot of work that we're doing at the middle school around small group instruction, and we also have a lot of work that's going on with the 5th grade teachers to see what we can do to make sure that we're maintaining proficiency and making sure that every kid is at least having a year or more growth. So we're flat in that. And also the other thing is that when we look at per school, we have some schools like Highland View, they had 100 points, and they continued to have 100 points. So to have that flat, that also didn't change. You can't get better than 100 points on growth, for an example. Next slide. Another place that is a huge celebration when we're thinking about disproportionality and different groups of students. This is all these little words I'm sure you can't read. But when we're looking at that line in the middle for ELA and for math, that represents typical growth in Wisconsin for different demographic groups. Our kids, all of our kids are growing at 3.3 versus 3. So 0.3 more than a typical student in Wisconsin. In math, 3.6. And this is true in every single demographic group. Some of the highlights are our African American students are outperforming their peers by 3.7. Our English language, English learners are outperforming at a 3.7 as well in ELA. In math, our kids who were proficient already in English were at a 3.7. And our white students were at 3.7 in math, and our students who are all students were at a 3.6. So those are just some amazing numbers. Often when you look at this, you can see that there are certain demographic groups that are not having the same success. But in Greendale, all of our kids are succeeding. So this is a great example of the diligent work our teachers have done to ensure that all kids get high levels of instruction. And next slide. We've really been focusing on making sure that all means all, and that our instruction is aligned to grade level standards for universal for all of our kids, that all of our assessments are aligned to grade level standards. That has been a tricky thing to work through because it's hard to watch kids fail or struggle on assessments. But one of the things that we've been saying is we don't want the first time for them to see grade level standards is on the forward. They need to have access to those difficult, rigorous tasks throughout the year. So if they fail in November, they have so many at-bats to grow and learn by the time they take that assessment in April. Excuse me, hold on. So, and the other big thing that we've really been working on is that, okay, so if they did fail, what are we doing about that? So we're making sure that we're reteaching to mastery of all those grade level standards, and that work is really happening in our, when you read the short cycles, you heard a lot of the principals working on formative assessment work, and that's happening in their professional learning communities in their classrooms. So they're saying, these are the kids who are struggling on these standards. Where are we reteaching those? Whether that's in WIN, whether that's in Flex, whether that's in whole group instruction and then getting pulled out into small groups. We're having all those different things happen in all of our schools, and it's really amazing to see that come to life. Now we're going to be taking a look at, let me pause for a second on the report card. Are there any questions about the district report card before I start going into the district benchmark districts?
Kathy?
Thank you. So first of all, this is really exciting to see this report, and I've had a chance to look at these kind of reports in my own line of work. Greendale is definitely showing improvement, and I did talk to Dr. Midzik about this because there is some perception. Different articles come out from time to time, the niche article in particular.
Oh, yeah.
And I've been hearing from some residents, even a couple elected officials, that they were concerned that we were going down. Mm-hmm. Can you maybe speak to that? Because I think there's misperception when people see different reports out there. That they're just right away saying we're not doing well. And I also wanted to comment on the state recalibrating or whatever they did. Can you speak to that and how we can determine if we are going up when they've changed the standards or the criteria, not the standards, but the criteria? Some people are saying that they've lowered the bar, and so it makes us look like we're doing better. And I just would like to have that addressed here so anyone listening can understand what's going on with our scores.
Yeah, those are both great questions. So I'll take the first question. Often when we're looking at World News Report or U.S. News Reports, or niche, any of those type of rankings, those are from 2 years ago data. So this is last year's data. So this is old. This isn't our current classes of kids. This is last year's class, right? So every grade that's on there are those kids that were in that, like our third graders that we're talking about, they're now fourth graders. So we're already moving on. So we've had huge increases in the past 2 years at our high school where, for instance, just on the report card alone, the high school went up 4.2 points. In growth, they went up 4.8. So we're continuing to see that happen. And we're really excited about that. 2 years ago, we had some work to do at the high school. And I think Mr. Lotus has rolled up his sleeves. We have Miss Henze and now with Miss
Kirosis.
No. Say your last name again.
Kirosis.
Kirosis. Sorry, I was going to say it wrong. I'm like, what's Sandy? But and now we also have a new instructional support teacher too, specialist Erin Schwain, who is also being able to work with our teachers. And our high school has never had that before too. So we have a lot of things in place to make sure that our high school, the growth that they had last year, continues to grow. So that's answer that first question. The second question is the change from this year to last year is all that changed was the report card accountability score range. So that's all that changed from last year. The change to the cut scores happened 2 years ago. So that is, and we kind of addressed that last year. But one of the things that we're noticing is that if your growth numbers continue to grow and your achievement continues to grow, and we're looking at that percentages. So for Greendale, let me just give an example. You can still compare them to the state, which is really helpful because that won't change. So we're still in the top 10% of all school districts in the state for achievement. So even if they change the scores, comparing to our contemporaries in the state, we're outperforming 90.3% of schools. So I think that's an easy way to look at that. And that's all publicly available on our website on the report card. So if people are confused by it, they can look at this. And also, I am more than willing to answer any community members or families around this. And I know Tracy is as well, to help people understand it. It can be tricky. Does that answer your question,
It
Kathy?
sure does. And those talking points, I think, are helpful for us as board members, too. Do we have any publications that are coming out specifically about this in the...
The annual report is coming out.
Okay.
And that will be going home to families when, Kitty?
January.
Middle of February? Okay. And that'll have all this information in
Okay,
it.
great. Thank you.
Yep. So now we're going to take a look at our benchmark districts, which are the districts in which are in our area or have similar demographics as us. So we have typically compared ourselves to Franklin Public, Greenfield, Mukwonago, Muskego, Norway, New Berlin, Oak Creek, Franklin, Pewaukee, Sherwood, South Milwaukee, and Whitnall. And I just want to give you an idea of the demographics of each of those districts. So then when we're looking at each benchmark district, we are, in our state report card, very few of them went down. Most people went up on the state report card, although not everyone went up as much as us. We went up 4.3 points. There's only 4 different schools that went up more than that and one that had the same increase. And we have one other one that went down in our region. The other area that I want to highlight is when we're looking at achievement, everybody went up. This kind of gets to how do we compare to each other? Everybody went up, but we went up the most in achievement. So we are really growing. So there isn't a benchmark district that outperformed us in that growth area for the achievement. We grew 7.1 points in that, which is incredible. And then one of the things that is also really telling is many districts went down in growth. So although their achievement went up, their growth went down. So South Milwaukee went down, Pewaukee went down 4.7, Oak Creek went down 4.7, Muskego, Norway went down by 1, and then New Berlin also had 0 growth, and Whitnall had a 0.9. So that small amount of growth is happening in other places as well. And that's something that we're looking at specifically when we're looking at our data digs. So I'm excited that we didn't go down. We always want to grow in growth, but I think it's really telling that there's a trend in our region that people are going down and we're staying steady. I'm going to dig into this a little more around each different area. So first we're going to look at ELA. And so in the elementary, these are, again, last year's kiddos. So our third grade had the highest, 75.2% of our third graders are at grade level. This is the highest that has ever been since before the pandemic. It is incredible. I think this is incredible, and this just shows all the work that we've done with CKLA, with Act 20, and all of the work that our teachers have put in. What you notice is that we also see that green to green, we saw a big increase from third to fourth grade. We saw all of our kids really continue to grow, so that's really helping our growth number. But then we saw a little dip between fourth to fifth grade. And that's kind of when we lose that proficiency, that hurts us on that growth number. And the thing I just want to celebrate is that there were times that less than half of our kids were proficient, and now we are getting close to that 80%, which is incredible. Looking at our middle school, I like to just have fifth grade numbers there just so you can see how they grow from there. And this is one of the areas that we did see a pretty significant dip, which was from fifth grade, that 73.6 down to a 66.8. So the sixth grade ELA team and Tracy have been working really hard on how this happened, what can they do to ensure that all of our kids either maintain or grow proficiency. And then we had from that 6th to 7th, we had zero growth, but they're at 71.9, which is great. We're maintaining that proficiency. And then we did have some growth, that 68.8 to 73.2. It is a lot easier to move if you have 25% proficiency to get to 50. That's still not okay. We want way more kids. As you are growing proficiency, it gets trickier and trickier to maintain proficiency and to grow. That doesn't mean it can't happen, because it can, and our teachers are doing that. So then when we're looking at the ELA, and this is proficiency levels, so regardless of what forward exam or the pre-ACT secure or the ACT, we're just looking at, were they proficient on grade level? So we did see another little drop between 8th grade to 9th grade. It is not large, but it exists. And then we saw that again from 9th to 10th grade. And then we did see a little bump in 11th. So this is something that we're working with Erin Schwain around what is happening in our ELA classrooms. How are we making sure that they're accessing that rigorous assessments, and how are we responding to students? Because our goal is to maintain or grow proficiency in ELA. So one of the things that I find pretty incredible is that 80%, above 80% proficiency is really incredible. And that's kind of our overall goal for our kiddos. And not to say we don't want more than that, but that if you look at, we have grown, we are moving in that direction for every single one of our grades, which I think just speaks to the hard work that our teachers and students are doing. And then when we're looking at ELA meeting advanced proficiency on the state report card, we are really close to we're outperforming several of our benchmark districts, and there are a couple that we are super close to. So we are working really hard to ensure that we are getting to because no one's at 80 yet, as you can see. And we have some grade levels that are at 80, which really just shows how amazing our teachers are doing working on this. We're going to move to math data. and it's a similar format. In math, in elementary, we actually have fourth grade is at 81%, which is incredible. Not only do they have 80% of their kids who are proficient or advanced, they also went up from third grade. There was a little bit of a dip between fourth and fifth grade, and that does affect our growth number as well. But those numbers are amazing, and it just shows the dedication that our elementary team really has. In middle school, we're also seeing another dip from fifth to sixth grade, and I know that they are working on that with their math team. We also have a new fifth grade math teacher who looped with kids and came to sixth grade. So we're looking at that and seeing what is that drop and what we can do to address it. And then there was also, and then in sixth to seventh grade, we saw an increase, and then seventh to eighth grade, we saw an increase. So we are moving in the right direction. And middle school has done a great job at really getting kids up, working on whiteboards, and doing a lot of work with building thinking schools. Jane Patterson has worked really hard with that team, so that work is paying off. When we're looking at high school, we are seeing really strong numbers as well. We're seeing this is one of the coolest things. We're seeing we don't have a transition decrease. We actually have an increase from 8th to 9th grade, which is really amazing. And then we see an increase from 9th to 10th as well. And then we see a drop from 10th to 11th. So that's something that we're really looking into around what's happening in 11th grade in math. And through the curriculum review process, that's something that we're looking at as well. And then when we're looking at our state proficiency by grade level. Next slide, please, Jonathan. Again, that goal of 80%, we have a grade that's there, which is incredible. And if you just think about where we were back in 1819, we have moved almost 20-some proficiency points, which is pretty incredible. And regardless, Kathy, to your point, if we just went up because they changed the cut scores, the increases wouldn't be this dramatic, just to name that as well. And then when we're looking at our math comparisons from our benchmark districts, again, there is a couple schools who are over, who are almost at that, who are past the 75, but we are outperforming several of these districts, and we are really close to meeting or beating them as well. Then when we're looking at, we're going to move kind of to the pre-ACT secure and ACT proficiency, because those numbers did represent kids who took the ACT and pre-ACT secure, although we didn't use composite because we wanted to compare apples to apples, and saying proficiency is an apple-to-apple score. If you're proficient on the pre-ACT secure, how are you at grade level standards? If you're proficient on the third grade forward, how are you on grade level standards? That's why we use that indicator. But from looking at our benchmark districts from a pre-ACT secure in 9th grade, 10th grade, and ACT, those are our different benchmark districts and how we are doing compared to them. We are outperforming some, and there is some work to do. One of the things that we're working on at the high school is really trying to raise our floor. We really want to help our kids who are performing like below 18. How do we get them to that 18? How do we get them to that 18 level? And then also thinking of our kiddos who are at that over 22, how do we really get them to move up to and really make sure that they're showing everything they know on those assessments as well. So that's some of the work that we're working on at the high school. I'm going to turn it over to Tracy, who's going to talk about On Track to Graduate.
So another priority area on the state report card is On Track to Graduation. So this is an area that indicates how successfully students are progressing through their completion of their K-12 education. So this score combines measures of student engagement and achievement through attendance at all levels and then graduation rates at the high school. And so we continue to see an increase in this area as well. Going back to 22-23, we were at an 87.9, last year 88.8, and then this year 91.3. And so in addition, we use our test scores as indicators, but we also utilize the following data to look at college and career readiness. So we want to continue to increase the percentage of students meeting these benchmarks as well. So areas for celebration this year include our third grade ELA achievement score. So this comes from the On Track to Graduation section of the state report card as well. We have moved, last year the score was 72.1 to an 85.2 this year. And then our universal screening percentage for third grade students went from a 75% to a 91%. So those are pretty huge gains in the area of third grade reading.
More pom-poms.
Yes, pom-poms. In addition, our 8th grade students completing algebra continues to rise, with the class of 2029 having our highest completion rate yet. And then looking at the high school level as well and our advanced placement, our students, even with the declining enrollment at the high school, we continue to have a high number of students take AP classes and the AP exams, and increase the number of students that score a 3 or higher year after year. That score continues to increase. And on this next slide, you can see that increase even in the 5 years of data here, moving from a 72% of students getting a score of 3 or above, which was 72%, to 89% this last year. And then to support our students in life after high school, we continue to work on increasing their opportunities for CAP classes, CCIHS classes, and career technical education possibilities as well. So our students are more, like Maggie said, more than just a number on a test or a state report card. And while we focus on ways to increase our students' scores, our greatest purpose is ensuring that we are serving all of our students as they gain proficiency and meet with success. And so if you guys have any other questions for us, we're happy to answer those for you.
I have one. Thanks for all the information. I think it's nice to see the success for the kids going well, but one question for the high school: how are we looking to affect with the ACT Super Score and the adjustments that are being done for now, the calculations of the new composite score? How are we going to take that into effect comparing year to year?
This score that you will see will be able to compare year to year because it will be based on the statewide assessment on that date in February or March. So when we're presenting, that one is a snapshot, and it won't be super scored. It will be the graduation score that is the legacy score that is not provided in this data.
Okay, I guess my question is because they were talking about not having any legacy scores anymore starting this coming year. Not this year, but...
So typically, we don't even share the legacy score with you all. We share the that day, the state... Mm-hmm. The state assessment day, we actually call it like ACT state statewide, so that it's just one score. And then another way I like to look at it is the composite can be really confusing and it doesn't tell a full story, and that's why we use the proficiency numbers. So if you look back to slide 24 for math or slide 18 for ELA, those are going to be how the kids did proficiently. Are they on grade level? Yes or no? And you'll be able to compare that regardless.
And how's the state factoring in the removal of science?
We're still doing science. So because we're going to be currently using, we have to, according to state law, we have to test in 4th, 8th, and 10th grade. No, that's social studies. 4th, 8th, and 11th grade. we will still continue to take the science portion of the ACT until, and that's statewide, that's not just Greendale. And if they decide to change that, so we still have a contract, the state does, with ACT to give the science, even though it is not required for kids who are taking like on a Saturday or for college entrance. We as a state are still giving it.
So the state will be doing the STEM ACT.
Correct.
Plus
Yes.
score
Yes.
exam. Okay.
That is
I guess
accurate.
that would be what they're looking at. So they're basically getting the full exam for that state.
Correct.
Correct,
assessment.
yes.
Okay.
That's a great question, though.
With writing.
What's
Yeah, with writing.
Full test with writing.
Yeah.
The same
And
test
I know
with
that
writing.
they were saying that like the removal of, they're adding an enhanced reading part, removal of science, and then putting it in a composite. So I didn't know how that was going to affect the state, given the fact that they're just saying, oh, we'll take, their state pretty much says that we're using the legacy ACT, but that's being removed. So where the state's determining that they're going to be doing a special test for it, and is it going to be a special score versus the other score?
Yeah, so I think the simple answer is we don't know yet. The DPI will put a task force together and look at when those changes occur and what that's going to mean for they did the same thing with the report card with the change. They brought a task force together and created some guidelines and got some feedback. So I'm sure they'll do the same thing. And they did that this summer. They did the same thing with the forward. They met with teachers throughout the state to have that conversation. And then once we have that information, we can share that with you all.
I guess so that would be final. So there's a possibility that they may remove, it may not be a traditional ACT, that it could be a Wisconsin ACT for them to take that we're using for the assessment.
This year, no. This year, it'll stay the same. Moving forward, I hope, I mean, who knows? I mean, I could win the lottery. We don't know. So, yeah, but that's something that we're absolutely keeping an eye on. And if there are changes to that, that will kind of change a lot of the ways we look at the data. And once we have that information, we will share that at our next benchmarking if that does affect it. Similarly, when we change the cut scores for forward, we kind of talked that through as well.
All right, thank you.
Yep, no problem.
I apologize if I missed this, but what exactly were the reasons why College Park dipped?
So College Park, their biggest area of where they had their biggest drop was in growth. And it's interesting because their achievement was so high. I have it right here. Their achievement was they're in the top 4.7% of the state in achievement. And then in growth was really where, because when you look at their growth, they did have a dip in between a couple of the grades. So they were losing some proficiency. And in third grade, when you're at 80% proficiency, and then they go down to 70, that's going to affect your growth numbers.
Okay, just because looking at the numbers, I mean, 8 points, 8.5 from Highland View, 9.3 from Canterbury. Within the next year, like, how close can we close that gap?
Oh, I mean,
And
they
get 'em
just,
back to
as a, yeah, I hear
Because they were 5 stars last year, right?
Yes.
I mean, it's pretty nice saying we have 3 5-star.
Well, my goal is to have 5 5-star schools and be a 5-star district. So that is our goal.
Right.
And so they would have been 5 stars if the state report card wouldn't have changed, because 82 was the cut score. So we would have had 5 stars. And I have talked to Mike and the ISS, Sharice there, and their team, and they're ready, because they're like, we're a 5-star school and we're going to show up for our kids and we're going to keep doing the work. And they're really focused on this and their PLCs and how to make sure that they can be that 5-star school that they know they are.
All right. Anyone else?
It was a good question.
You didn't have anything else?
No, it was a good
Okay.
question.
All right, that's it. Appreciate it. All right, moving on to to Jonathan with the Village TID closure update.
Yep, so we're providing information that we've received from the village regarding the closure of TID 2. It's a tax incremental district is what that acronym's for. And that was the Boston Store property and also covered most of the spine of the mall as well. And that dates back to 2010. There was a 20-year timeline on that, so it was anticipated to be closed by 2030. It's expected to close in the first half of calendar year 2026, and there's residual dollars that are remaining of what was taxed for that tax increment district. So the rules on that is that gets redistributed to all the overlapping taxing jurisdictions, which the school district is one of them. So that's one of the things we talk about is every year when the board approves their tax levy, that there's an additional amount that gets added on when the tax bills are sent out. That's a reflection of those tax increment districts. So this is a case where there's residual dollars that would come back to the school district, and the current estimate from the village manager is it would be about $700,000. And so that will be a one-time payment to the school district. For right now, we anticipate that before June 30th, which would put it into this fiscal year. And so as we're thinking about that, we're talking with our financial advisor with Baird about options of what to do with that money and position ourselves as best as possible in terms of the state aid formula and looking at options for investing that money. So we've had updates to our capital plan over the last few years, but in particular considering like capital projects that could be done if there was a one-time source of funds. So we've got a list of those that we've created, and we're also taking a look at financial projections, because with the closure of that tax increment district, there's additional property valuation that's coming on to the tax rolls. And so that does have an impact as we're doing projections for how much state aid we will receive in the 26-27 school year. So we have it on the calendar in January that we would bring forward financial projections. So we'll have some updates at that time. But we've listed here, like those are the two areas to consider our dollars to help offset any tax impact of the closure of that TID, and then also looking at capital projects that we could do. And as of about a week ago, that $700,000 was the latest estimate of what the share would be for the school district. Dr. Midzik, anything I missed on that?
No, I do think that it's, as you think about the state funding formula, that there is an impact on property value. So the closure of the TID changes property value. That's going to have an impact. And then how we use that money will have an impact on our state aid numbers for the following school year. So that is why we don't have a recommendation at this time. We're just really providing you with some information that there's some changes coming, and we'll have some options for you in the coming months.
Yeah, I think that's a good point. So we got to look at some of the tax bills that are getting finalized. And although the board kept the tax levy flat for the 2026 bills, what taxpayers are going to see is the school district going down in property taxes the way the bills are distributed. And so there's going to be, we'll be out of sync in terms of the timing of when that property valuation comes on, because our state aid for this year was built off of prior year property valuation numbers. So in terms of what the average property taxpayer, it's going to look like it's going down, but the district did keep that tax levy exactly the same for the 25-26 school year.
Right. Any questions?
Is there any way to predict now, like what, I lost my thought here. So what the state, well, you just said it, what the state amount.
State aid?
State aid, yes. Is there a way at this point to even predict how that will impact our state aid?
Yes. Yes. So we've built that into budget formula. So we've taken a look at like a 5-year projection. I think the administrative team is still at the point in the discussions that we want to refine the assumptions built into the model in terms of enrollment projections and what we would bring forward to the board as recommended open enrollment seats. So yes, we've taken a look at it, and there's some significant impact to state aid for next year. We take a look at those numbers, but I don't have it finalized, like that model finalized enough to speak to it specifically.
So you can't like put
That's
it
what we'll be bringing forward. It's part of the calendar report of reports for January, but we did want to proactively provide some information on the TID closing.
Okay. And did I see there's going to be some like road projects, for instance, that are, I think, going down Ramsey
Correct.
and so forth. Is that part of what you're talking about here as far as potential projects?
No.
This would not have to do with village projects. When I'm talking about projects, I'm talking about those on the district campuses.
Okay.
The village is going to fund the road projects. The only thing that could overlap from our district budget would be the potential of redoing the Brinkman lots.
Yeah.
So we hear about that quite frequently, and board members may have heard about that the condition is very poor in those lots. And so we asked the village to help piggyback, and they should get a much better price. And then we can make a decision of whether or not that gets added on to the village road projects, which is Southway from Broad Street to Loomis, and then the other side of Loomis all the way up until you get to the intersection at 51st in front of Highland View. But we're going to get pricing on what it would be to redo that Brinkman parking lot. And we have a couple options in terms of buckets that we could pull that from without looking at this funding.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Yep.
Does the church chip in at all for Brinkman, since a lot of their people use that parking lot?
I know we've tried having those discussions regarding potential payment, but right now what we're targeting is the district would take on that cost. Yeah.
Appreciate it.
Yep.
Any other questions? Nope. All right. Thank you, both of you. Moving on to the legislative update. Kathy.
Okay, I have a few things. There's Senate Bill 10 was the access to public high schools for military recruiters. I'm not going to read this entire thing, but I would just want to share where the school boards come in on this. This was passed in October by the Assembly and in June by the Senate. It looks like it was on party lines. I'm just looking at the numbers here. But this bill requires school boards and governing bodies of charter schools to, in addition to complying with federal law, specifically allow military recruiters access to common areas in high schools and to allow access during a school day and to school-sanctioned events. Nothing in this bill requires a school board or governing body of a charter school to provide a military recruiter access to high school classrooms. Just more common areas is what they're talking about. So that's SB 10. SB 11 is allowing representatives of certain federally chartered youth membership organizations to provide information to pupils on public school property. I know many years ago when I was on the board, this was an issue that kept coming up because groups would want to try to pass things out. This again, it passed the Senate on a voice vote, and it was passed the Assembly 64-33. In terms of this one, this would just, examples of this would be federally chartered youth membership organizations such as the Boy Scouts of America or Girl Scouts of America, and provide those organizations information to pupils during the school day and on school property. And so it could just give information out about those organizations. This bill was amended to change the word principal to school board and also change the word shall to may, which largely takes away the mandate component of the legislation. I think that's important. SB 210 is the changes to the amount of and criteria for designating recipients of academic excellence higher education scholarships. This might interest our students a little bit, and I can give this to you guys afterwards. Under this bill, the school board or governing body of a high school with enrollment of at least one pupil but less than 500, which doesn't relate to us, I guess, may designate one senior to receive the scholarship with no nomination process or designate from HEAB, whatever that is. The bill also clarifies that a senior eligible to receive the scholarship relief does not include a pupil enrolled in a home-based private educational program. And this was amended to allow homeschool seniors who receive 33 on their ACT or a 1,500 on the SAT to be designated for scholarships. This one I think is of interest, especially as we're trying to grow our teacher pipeline, teacher preparatory programs, SB 424. It passed the Assembly and the Senate on voice vote on the 18th and 19th of October. Under current law, the state superintendent of public instruction may approve a teacher preparatory program only if students in the program are required to complete student teaching that consists of full days for a full semester at a cooperating elementary or secondary school. This bill allows the state superintendent to also approve a teacher preparatory program if the program requires students to complete student teaching that consists of full days for full summer session at a cooperating elementary or secondary school. So I guess that impacts our summer school. AB 74 is the parental notification of alleged sexual misconduct by a school staff member. And what it said there, I won't read all of this, but the bill also requires school boards to annually provide information about how parents and guardians may access records related to school employees' discipline under the state public records law. And I think that's all I'm going to say on that one. AB 166 is the academic and career planning services provided to pupils and requiring the reporting of certain data on college student costs and outcomes. Passed the Senate on voice vote and Assembly was 5639. This has to do with the UW system institutions, and I'll just cut to the chase and go back. Under current law, the state superintendent of public instruction must ensure that each school board provides academic and career planning services to pupils enrolled in grades 6 through 12. Beginning in 2027 to 28 school year, the bill will require the superintendent to provide the electronic document described above to school boards and require school boards to provide the electronic document to high school, sophomore, junior, and seniors as part of the academic and career. So we really will have to do that? The school board will give that? I don't know if I'm following that. It sounds like something you guys would be doing. And then the last thing I want to just touch on is our delegate assembly. Resolutions for considering the 2026 delegate assembly are posted online currently. We at a future meeting should be discussing this. Those resolutions will be sent to Tasha, I believe. And are you still our delegate? Christy was. Okay, Christy is out there. So they'll be sent to her as well as to you, Rob. But we all should take a look at those. And I think Dr. Midzik, is that in that's coming up, like in the next meeting, that we should have reviewed those. So that is all I have to say legislatively.
All right, thank you. Moving on to board committee updates. Does anyone have anything to share?
Just that this month for Greendale Global, we're going to have a working session to work on the grant. I think it has to be submitted by February 25th. Mm-hmm. So we're having a working session to get that going.
All All right,
For
thanks.
Greendale Global.
The charter school.
Okay.
Anyone else?
Jimmy, bye.
Negative? All right. Moving on to board professional development. Anyone have anything to share?
Just the state convention in January.
Looking
Like
forward to
Christy
that.
know.
All right. Do you have anything?
No, just that we have that coming up. So if you haven't registered yet, work with Christy.
When is the early bird deadline, Christy? That late.
All right. Lastly, we have the board calendar.
So there is quite a bit happening in the next few weeks. We'll start with the fact that tomorrow is Giving Tuesday, and so anyone who is considering making donations would want to consider donations to support our schools. Canterbury PTO, College Park PTO, Highland View PTO, Graffiti Robotics, Greendale Education Foundation, the Greendale Friends of Music, or the Greendale Panther Athletic Boosters. So we will be sharing that. And then the Greendale Gala is happening again on February 5th, so people can get their tickets starting now. And that will be, if tickets are purchased now, it is a charitable donation to sign up for the Greendale Gala, and by doing so before the end of the year, that gives you your tax write-off this year. Then in other events, on Friday there is Dickens of Village, at which a number of board members will be present. And then the next 2 weeks there are concerts. So December 9th, 10th, and 11th at the high school in the auditorium, there will be concerts for our 3 elementary schools. As mentioned in communications, there is a school board academy on December 11th from 6:30 to 8 p.m. For anyone who is interested in running for the open seat, well, the seat that has an incumbent but is coming up, or just interested in what is required for board responsibilities. We have the Rose Parade send-off on Saturday, December 13th at noon. So the community can come to Gavinsky Stadium and see the performance that they will be taking to Pasadena at the end of the month. And then the week of December 15th, we have a number of additional events, including the high school choir and orchestra concert. So there's a number of events throughout the month of December at which board members may be present.
All right, thank you. And we'll close it out with additional comments from visitors.
I thought it was.
All right, thank you. All right, there's no comments from visitors, so we will adjourn and come back January 12th.
Thank you.
Feel better.